What if the dream you've been chasing your whole life was never really yours? What if the promise that hard work leads to success was nothing more than a story designed to keep you running faster, harder, longer, without ever arriving? You felt it, haven't you? That quiet unease, that whisper in the back of your mind that says something isn't right. You're doing everything you were told to do. Grinding, sacrificing, showing up, but somehow the finish line keeps moving. The harder you try, the further it seems to slip away. They told you the American dream was simple. Work hard, stay disciplined, and one day you'll make it. But what does making it even mean anymore? Is it the house you can't afford? The job that drains your soul? The future that keeps slipping through your fingers no matter how tightly you hold on? Somewhere along the way, the dream changed. It stopped being about freedom and started being about survival. You weren't supposed to feel trapped. You weren't supposed to spend your life just trying to keep up. Yet here you are, scrolling through moments of other people's success, wondering why yours hasn't come yet. You tell yourself it's just bad timing, or maybe you're not working hard enough. Deep down, you know it's something bigger than that. It's the system, the rules, the invisible walls built to keep you believing in a dream that benefits everyone, but you see it everywhere now. The cost of living goes up, but your paycheck stays the same. The rent climbs, the bills pile up. The dream retreats just a little further out of reach. You watch people drowning in debt before they even begin their lives, chasing careers that don't exist anymore, holding on to hope that's starting to feel heavy, and still you keep going because what else can you do? They told you this was the only way. But here's the truth. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not lazy. You are not failing. You are waking up. You're beginning to see the cracks in the story they sold you. You're realizing that the dream wasn't built to be shared. It was built to be sold, and the price keeps going up. They told you to be grateful, to hustle harder, to trust that it'll all pay off in the end. But when the end never comes, what happens to the faith that kept you moving? Maybe the dream isn't dying. Maybe it's transforming. Maybe it's demanding something more of us, something deeper than chasing titles or possessions. Maybe it's asking us to stop running someone else's race and start defining our own version of success, the kind that isn't measured by what we own, but by how alive we feel, the kind that isn't built on debt and exhaustion, but on freedom and purpose. Think about it. What if the real dream isn't about climbing higher, but stepping back? What if it's about reclaiming your time, your peace, your voice? What if it's about rejecting the illusion that your worth depends on your productivity? For too long, you've been told that the dream is out there somewhere, something you have to earn, but maybe the truth is it's already inside you, waiting to be redefined, rewritten, rebuilt from the ground up, because the world you were promised doesn't exist anymore. The old dream belonged to a time when one paycheck could buy a home, when education opened doors instead of locking people into decades of debt, when hope felt reachable. That world is gone, but in its place, something new is beginning, something raw, honest, and real. And it starts the moment you stop believing the lie that struggle means you're failing. You're not failing, you're awakening. You're standing at the edge of a shift, a turning point in history where people are starting to see the truth for what it is. The dream is changing, and for the first time, we get to decide what comes next. You don't have to chase what was never meant for you. You can build something different, something that lasts. Stay with that thought. Feel it, because the moment you stop running after the dream they sold you, you'll realize you were never meant to chase it. You were meant to create it. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet pull inside you that knows something has to change. You're tired of running in circles, tired of being told to wait your turn while others keep rewriting the rules. You've given everything, your time, your energy, your belief, and still, it feels like the world keeps moving the goalposts. But maybe this is the moment where everything shifts, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you realize the system was never built for you to win, the only thing left to do is stop playing by its rules. Look around. People everywhere are starting to wake up. They're questioning, rebelling, refusing to pretend that endless struggle is normal. They're no longer chasing the illusion of success. They're building a new definition of it. The noise of the old world is fading, and in its place, a new rhythm is forming. A rhythm of people who are done waiting for permission to live differently. You can feel that energy rising. It's in the conversations, in the movements, in the quiet determination of those who have nothing left to lose but their silence. This isn't just about money or status. It's about meaning, about reclaiming the one thing this system has stolen from almost everyone: dignity, the right to live with peace, with purpose, with self-respect. For too long, you've been told that your worth depends on how much you produce, how much you own, how much you can endure. But now people are beginning to understand. You don't owe the world your exhaustion. You owe yourself your freedom. And once that thought takes root, nothing can stop it from growing. The system wants you tired. It wants you too busy to think, too scared to question, too distracted to act. It feeds off your fatigue, turning your struggle into its profit. Every time you doubt yourself, it wins. Every time you give up on your dreams because the world told you they were unrealistic, it grows stronger. But the moment you decide you've had enough, that's when its power begins to crumble, because this system depends on belief. And once you stop believing in it, it starts falling apart. The truth is, revolutions don't begin in the streets. They begin in the mind. The moment you stop accepting the story you were given and start writing your own, you've already won half the battle. You are not powerless. You are not small. You are part of something much larger, a wave of people who are tired of being told to dream within the limits of what benefits someone else. And this wave is growing stronger every single day. You can't afford to stay numb anymore. Not when everything around you is screaming for change. The cost of silence is too high now. Every generation has a breaking point, and this one is ours. The cracks in the system aren't signs of failure. They're signs of awakening. They mean people are starting to see through the illusion. And once you see through it, there's no going back. You start to realize that real power doesn't come from titles, money, or approval. It comes from clarity, from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you refuse to accept any longer. This moment isn't just another chapter in history. It's a turning point. The dream is no longer about rising above others. It's about rising together. It's about creating a future where success isn't built on exploitation, but on connection, where people don't have to sacrifice their health or their humanity just to survive. That's the new American dream, the dream of collective strength, shared dignity, and real freedom. And it starts with one decision: refusing to live on someone else's terms. So ask yourself, what are you willing to let go of? The illusion of control, the comfort of conformity? Because the world is changing whether you're ready or not. The only question that matters now is whether you'll change with it. The power you're looking for has been inside you all along. It's in your voice, your choices, your refusal to keep pretending everything's fine when it isn't. The system fears that moment. The moment you realize you don't need it to define your worth, that's when it loses its grip. You were never meant to be another statistic in someone else's story. You were meant to build your own, to stand in the ruins of what's collapsing and create something better, something fair, something real. The dream isn't gone. It's being rewritten. And this time, it has your name on it. Change doesn't start with governments or billionaires. It starts with people like you, people who are tired of being silent, tired of pretending everything is fine while the world keeps burning around them. Deep down, you already know this isn't just about economics or politics. It's about the soul of a generation that refuses to be numb any longer. You feel it every day, in the exhaustion, in the noise, in that quiet ache that whispers, there must be more than this. And you're right, there is. But to reach it, something has to break first. The illusion that this system will ever save you. You've been told to keep your head down, play it safe, follow the rules. But those rules were written to keep you exactly where you are, working harder, earning less, hoping for miracles that never come. The truth is, the system doesn't fear your labor, it fears your awareness. Because the moment you see the truth, you start asking questions. You start saying no, you start realizing that the same system that tells you to be grateful is the one built on your exhaustion. And once you understand that, you can never go back to being obedient. This awakening is spreading faster than anyone expected. Across cities, across screens, across hearts. People are realizing they've been chasing someone else's version of happiness. They're stepping off the treadmill of endless hustle and asking, what do I actually want? And that question is dangerous because it can't be answered with money, titles, or possessions. It demands something deeper. It forces you to confront everything you've been taught to believe about success, and it pushes you to rebuild from the inside out. But make no mistake, the moment you decide to break free, the world will try to pull you back. It will use fear, doubt, and shame to keep you in line. It will tell you that you're being unrealistic, that the system is too big to change. It will try to convince you that comfort is safer than courage. But comfort is a cage, and every day you stay inside it, the bars grow thicker. You weren't meant to live in quiet desperation. You were meant to rise, to question, to rebuild. And that begins the second you stop asking for permission. You can feel the urgency in the air now. The cracks in the old world are getting wider, and through them, something new is trying to be born. People are coming together, not because they share the same background, but because they share the same struggle, the same hunger for truth, the same refusal to keep pretending that everything's fine. That's where real power begins, not in isolation, but in unity. When enough people decide that the old story no longer serves them, the story changes. This isn't just a social shift, it's a spiritual one. It's about rediscovering the meaning of being human in a world that treats humanity as a commodity. It's about choosing empathy over greed, cooperation over competition, and purpose over profit. The dream we're building now isn't about climbing a ladder that leads nowhere. It's about tearing the ladder down and building bridges instead. For too long, we've mistaken survival for success. But real success isn't about winning while others lose. It's about creating a world where no one has to lose just to live. And that's the future waiting for us if we have the courage to claim it. The old systems are collapsing under their own weight, but collapse isn't the end, it's the beginning of creation. The question is, will you stand on the sidelines and watch it happen, or will you be part of what comes next? Because whether you realize it or not, you're already part of it. Every thought, every choice, every refusal to settle is a crack in the walls that held us back. The American dream isn't fading, it's being reborn. But it won't look like the one we were promised. It won't come with white picket fences or corner offices. It will come with purpose, with equality, with freedom that's real and earned, not borrowed. And it starts with people like you, tired, brave, awake, who choose to stop dreaming someone else's dream and start creating their own. Because once you decide that the world can be different, it already begins to change. The truth is, every great change in history began when ordinary people decided they'd had enough, when they realized the power they were searching for wasn't in the hands of the few, it was in the hearts of the many. You can feel that same energy rising again, can't you? The frustration, the hunger, the fire building behind the silence. It's the quiet before a transformation, the point where despair turns into defiance. And once that spark catches, there's no putting it out, because people who have nothing left to lose finally remember what they were capable of all along. This moment isn't about politics or ideology. It's about reclaiming the right to live with purpose, to stop measuring worth by output and start defining it by impact. For too long, you've been made to believe that change is impossible, that power only belongs to those with wealth or influence. But every system that ever existed was built by people, and it can be rebuilt by people too. The walls that hold us back aren't made of concrete, they're made of belief, and belief can be broken. Every movement begins with a choice, the choice to stop accepting what is and start demanding what should be. You don't have to wait for someone to save you. You don't need permission to rise. Change doesn't come from waiting. It comes from doing, from refusing to let fear dictate what's possible, from standing tall even when your voice shakes. The system counts on your silence. It feeds on your hesitation. The moment you stop waiting for the right time, you take its power away. You were taught to chase dreams that kept you distracted from the truth, that the dream was never about freedom, it was about control. It told you to compete instead of connect, to consume instead of create, to follow instead of question. But that illusion is crumbling now. People are realizing that no amount of money or status can fill the emptiness of a life lived on someone else's terms. True success isn't about climbing higher. It's about lifting others with you. It's about building something that lasts beyond yourself. The world doesn't change when the powerful decide. It changes when the powerless stop believing they are. That's where revolutions begin. In the quiet decision of one person who refuses to settle, in the courage of one voice that says enough. Because courage is contagious. Once one person stands, others follow. Once one light shines, darkness can't hide. The dream we're building now doesn't belong to the few. It belongs to everyone who dares to believe that fairness isn't a fantasy. But belief alone isn't enough. It demands action. It demands that you show up, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, that you speak when silence feels safer, that you choose integrity when convenience whispers louder. Because real change doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people refuse to look away, when they stop pretending. The system will fix itself and start realizing they are the system. You have more power than you've been told. You always did. You just forgot. The clock is ticking now. The longer we wait, the higher the cost becomes. Every delay deepens the divide. Every distraction keeps us chained. The old world is collapsing under the weight of its own greed, and what replaces it depends on what we do right now. This is the moment where the future is written. Not by politicians or corporations, but by people who dare to dream louder than the lies they've been told. By people like you. Don't look away. Don't slow down. The world is waiting for you to decide what you stand for, to choose courage over comfort, to remember that the same dream that once divided us can now unite us. If we rebuild it with truth, the system may have written the story, but you hold the pen now, and what you write next will define everything. The future isn't something we inherit. It's something we create together, with hands that refuse to give up and hearts that refuse to forget what freedom really means. Every generation reaches a breaking point, a moment when the weight of pretending becomes heavier than the cost of change. That moment is now. You can feel it everywhere. In the tension of overworked minds, in the quiet frustration of dreams put on hold, in the restless heartbeat of a world that knows it cannot keep living like this. The old systems are trembling. The lies that once kept people asleep no longer work. You can't distract a population that's finally awake. You can't sell hope to those who've learned to create it for themselves. You weren't born to play a part in someone else's plan. You were born to create your own. Every time you compromise your truth to fit a system that was built to exploit you, you shrink a little inside. And yet, something inside you refuses to die. The part of you that knows you were meant for more, that's the spark they can't control. That's the light they can't dim. They can take your time, your money, your energy, but they can't take your will unless you hand it to them, and you're done handing it over, aren't you? You're done waiting for change. You're ready to be it. Because once you realize that the power you've been searching for is already yours, everything shifts. You stop chasing approval. You stop begging for fairness. You stop trying to fix a game that was designed for you to lose. Instead, you build your own. That's the revolution. The quiet, unstoppable decision to stop living by rules that no longer make sense. To stop giving energy to systems that survive by draining yours. To finally say, I am not your resource. I am not your product. I am not your silence. That's the heartbeat of a new dream. The dream of balance, justice, and shared humanity. It's not about wealth anymore. It's about worth. It's about rewriting what success means in a world that mistook greed for greatness. Real success is waking up without fear. It's knowing that your voice matters. It's being able to look at your reflection and see freedom instead of fatigue. And that kind of success can't be bought or sold. It has to be built brick by brick, choice by choice, together. But make no mistake, change won't come easy. The system won't collapse quietly. It will fight to keep its grip on your mind. It will use fear as its weapon, division as its shield. It will try to convince you that hope is naive, that rebellion is chaos, that unity is impossible. But that's the oldest trick. In the book, divide the people, distract them, drain them, keep them too busy surviving to ever start thriving. But this time, it won't work because people are starting to remember who the real majority is. The real power has never been in the hands of the few. It's been in the millions who forgot they had it. And once you remember, the world changes fast. Fear loses its grip. Courage becomes contagious. One voice turns into thousands. Thousands turn into millions. And suddenly what felt impossible becomes inevitable. That's how history is made. Not by permission, but by persistence. The system doesn't fall because it's defeated. It falls because people stop believing in it, because they finally choose something better. The American dream isn't ending, it's being reclaimed. It's no longer a story of one person's escape. It's a story of collective rise. It's no longer about owning more. It's about belonging more. About creating a life where no one has to trade their sanity for survival. The dream isn't about reaching the top anymore. It's about lifting everyone higher. And it begins when you stop waiting for change to come from above and start realizing it grows from within. You are living in the turning point. The moment when everything that once felt permanent begins to crack, and when it does, light gets in. That light is you. Your courage, your clarity, your refusal to settle for less than what's right. So don't dim it, don't apologize for it, let it burn through the lies, let it wake up the world around you. The dream is shifting, the story is being rewritten, and for the first time the pen is finally in your hands. The pen is in your hands, but what you write next will define more than your own future. It will define what kind of world the next generation inherits. Because the truth is, we are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to more of the same. The endless grind, the quiet despair, the illusion of progress built on exhaustion. The other path leads somewhere unknown, uncharted, and terrifying, but it's also where hope lives. It's where courage replaces comfort, where unity replaces competition, where meaning finally replaces money. And deep down, you already know which path calls to you. You felt it every time you questioned the life you were told to want. Every time your soul whispered, there has to be more than this. You are not crazy for wanting something real. You are not weak for being tired. You are human, and being human means refusing to accept a life that strips away your spirit just to keep the machine running. The world has conditioned you to think that wanting peace is laziness, that wanting rest is weakness, that wanting fairness is unrealistic, but look around. What's truly unrealistic is believing this broken system can last forever. It's already cracking under the weight of its own lies. And every person who wakes up to that truth makes the cracks wider. You are one of them. You are part of the reason it's falling apart. But collapse isn't destruction, it's transformation. The death of the old world is the birth of the new. The question is, will you just survive it, or will you help shape it? Because the future doesn't need more followers. It needs builders. It needs people who aren't afraid to question, to dream, to fight for something better, even when it's inconvenient. That's where real strength lives. Not in endurance, but in defiance. In the courage to look the system in the eye and say, you don't own me anymore. They will try to convince you that nothing can change. They will call you naive, rebellious, unrealistic, but every idea that ever changed the world started with someone who refused to listen to that voice. Someone who dared to believe in something greater than survival. That's how movements are born, not from power, but from persistence, not from privilege, but from people who refuse to go back to sleep once they've seen the truth. And that's you now, awake, aware, unstoppable.
You can already sense the shift happening. People are talking differently, thinking differently, choosing differently.
The illusion of control is slipping. The more they tighten their grip, the more people slip through their fingers, because you can't imprison an idea whose time has come. You can't silence millions of hearts that have decided to beat in rhythm with change. What once felt like chaos is actually rebirth. What once looked like destruction is the clearing of space for something better. But this moment won't last forever. Change has a window, and that window is open right now. If you don't act, it will close. The system will adapt, rebuild, rebrand, and convince the world to fall asleep again. That's what it's counting on. Your fatigue, your distraction, your doubt. Don't give it what it wants. Don't look away. Every voice matters. Every choice counts. Every small act of defiance, every moment of truth, every refusal to accept just how things are becomes part of the movement that rewrites history. The dream is no longer about personal success. It's about collective survival. It's about creating a world where dignity isn't a privilege, but a birthright, where people aren't celebrated for how much they consume, but for how much they contribute, where freedom doesn't belong to the few. It belongs to everyone. That's the dream being born right now, and it needs you. It needs your voice, your courage, your refusal to settle. So don't wait for the perfect moment. This is it. The world is shifting beneath your feet, and you are not just a witness. You are part of the story that will define what comes next. Stand up, speak out, refuse to be quiet, because the future isn't written by those who follow. It's written by those who believe. The dream has always belonged to the brave, and now it belongs to you. Every great change in history began the same way, with people who refused to believe the world had to stay the way it was. They weren't the richest, the loudest, or the most powerful. They were simply the ones who decided to stop waiting for permission. The ones who realized that if the system was built to keep them down, then the only answer was to build something new. That's the moment we are living in right now. The moment when comfort is no longer an option and silence is no longer neutral. Because every day you stay quiet, the world you don't believe in grows stronger. And every time you speak up, even when your voice shakes, the world you dream of takes one step closer to becoming real. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet frustration that's been growing inside you for years, the feeling that no matter how hard you work, you're still trapped in someone else's game, that you're running faster than ever, but getting nowhere. It's not in your head, it's the design. You were never meant to win in a system built on your exhaustion. You were meant to spend your life chasing, comparing, consuming, because a distracted person never revolts, but that illusion is breaking. People are waking up, and when enough minds wake up at once, no force on earth can put them back to sleep. The dream they sold you was never yours, it was theirs. They told you that if you worked harder, you'd have freedom. But freedom doesn't come from following their rules, it comes from breaking them, from seeing through the game, and realizing you don't need to play it to live. The truth is, the moment you stop measuring your worth by their standards, you become untouchable. The moment you decide that peace matters more than approval, you become unstoppable. That's when the real revolution begins, not in the streets, but in the mind. They will tell you to calm down, to be grateful, to stay patient. They'll call you angry, radical, unrealistic. But understand this, those words have always been used to silence people who threaten power. Every movement that ever scared the powerful began with ordinary people refusing to pretend everything was fine. You are standing on the same ground as them. You carry the same fire. And if you feel like the world is burning, it's because something new is being forged in the flames. This is not the end, it's the beginning, but beginnings are never easy. Change demands something from you. It asks for courage when you're afraid, for faith when you can't see the outcome, for persistence when nothing seems to move, and yet the reward is worth everything. Because when you rise, you don't rise alone. You lift everyone around you. Every act of resistance sends a signal to someone else still trapped in silence, reminding them that they, not crazy, not alone, not powerless. That's how transformation spreads. One brave choice at a time. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take one honest step, speak one truth, refuse one lie. Every system built on control is terrified of the moment people stop obeying out of fear. That's the power you have. You're not small. You're not invisible. You're part of something far greater than you realize, a collective awakening that no wall, no law, no algorithm can contain. This is the turning point, not just for you, but for all of us. The old story is collapsing and a new one is waiting to be written. The only question left is, will you be one of the authors? Will you dare to live as if the world can change because of you? Because it always has. Every era that reshaped history began with someone who decided that waiting was no longer an option. That someone is you now. So don't look away, don't shrink, don't settle. The world is shifting and you are part of that shift. This is your moment to stand in the chaos and say, I choose something better. Because the American dream isn't dead, it's evolving. It's breaking free from greed, from illusion, from control. And what replaces it will be written by those brave enough to dream again. The system doesn't collapse when people lose faith in it. It collapses when they stop participating in it. That's the moment of truth we're approaching now. People are no longer content to just dream of a better life. They're beginning to demand it. And when enough people demand something real, something fair, the illusion starts to crack. You can already see it. The silence breaking, the fear fading, the truth bleeding through the walls of comfort and control. What was once unshakable is trembling. And it's not because the powerful grew weaker. It's because the people finally remembered their strength. But strength isn't just physical. It's mental. It's emotional. It's the quiet fire that refuses to die no matter how many times life tries to smother it. Felt it before. The moment you hit your lowest point and still found a way to stand up, that was power. That was proof that the system never truly owned you. Because the moment you decide to keep going, when everything tells you to quit, you reclaim something they can't buy, can't tax, can't measure, your spirit. That's the foundation of every revolution that ever mattered. It begins with one person remembering who they are. And once you remember, you can't unsee it. You can't return to the illusion that obedience brings safety or that silence brings peace, because you start to realize something. They never wanted your peace. They wanted your distraction. They wanted you busy enough to forget what freedom actually feels like. And that's why this moment matters more than ever, because people aren't distracted anymore. They're questioning everything. They're starting to see how the dream was built, who it served and who it left behind. And that realization is dangerous, because when people wake up to injustice, they stop asking for permission to change it. The power structures we see today were never designed to last forever. They were designed to keep power in place just long enough for the next generation to accept it as normal. But that's what's breaking right now. The normalization of inequality, the quiet acceptance of exploitation, the belief that struggle is inevitable. None of it is inevitable. It's engineered, and what's engineered can be dismantled. That's what terrifies those in control, because they know the truth. Once people believe they can rewrite the rules lose their power. That's why every movement begins not with noise, but with awareness. With people choosing to see through the lie. That's what's happening across this generation. Not laziness, not apathy, but awakening. The so-called lost generation isn't lost at all. They're simply refusing to walk the same tired path that leads to nowhere. They're done trading their time for survival and calling it freedom. They're done living to work and dying to rest. They're redefining success, not by wealth, but by purpose, by connection, by meaning. And though the system calls that rebellion, it's actually evolution. You can feel that shift everywhere. In the conversations that used to be taboo, in the courage of people standing up for what's right, even when it costs them everything, in the art, the music, the protest, the silence that refuses to stay silent anymore. It's not chaos, it's creation. The birth of a new kind of dream, one not owned by corporations or confined by borders, a dream built on fairness, empathy, and truth. And like every birth, it's painful, it's messy, but it's necessary, because something beautiful is trying to emerge, and it needs people brave enough to protect it before it takes shape. You are part of that. You are not just witnessing history, you're shaping it. Every choice you make, every conversation you have, every belief you refuse to surrender, it all matters. That's the power you hold. You don't need permission to create change. You don't need validation to know you're right. You just need to act consistently, fearlessly, knowing that every small act of resistance adds up to something unstoppable. The American dream is no longer about climbing someone else's ladder. It's about building your own. It's about choosing meaning over money, truth over comfort, and courage over compliance. Because this new dream doesn't belong to the few. It belongs to all of us. And the moment we claim it together, the world as we know it changes forever.